Thank you all for coming. Welcome, I should say, I guess. That's my responsibility. Welcome. We have been graced with like a majestic Chicago afternoon, which hats off to the weather gods. But I thank you all for coming and supporting the Legacy Project and being here to hear what I think will be a very, very interesting and hopefully lively, can you hear me? Hopefully lively conversation, Paul. And without further ado, I'm Christopher, by the way. I'm your host, I guess. I welcome Ralph Kennedy, who is our board president.
Speak real close. Oh, good. Not that I need this, but I just love a microphone. Thank you, Sean. So my job here is to say a couple words, but first I want to thank our really big sponsors. And by that, you know who you are. You're really big. I'm just staring at you. We're talking about the sponsors that have secured some significant bucks for us. So first of all, I want to say thanks to David Rudoff. David, thank you so much. Tom Piola, where Tom? There he is. Oh, there he is, Tom. Thank you so much. Paul DeSouza. And Paul Highfield. There's Paul, looking beautiful as ever. And last but certainly not least, David Martin. David, where are you? David is our corporate sponsor of BMO Harris Bank. Those of you, he's helped us secure a couple plaques, so thank you so much. So I just want to say a couple words on behalf of the board. We want to thank all of you so much for being here today. I joined the board about 2.5 years ago, and 2.5 years ago there was not a single plaque out on Halsted Street, and we were only beginning putting together our lesson plans and forming and the Legacy Project Education Initiative, and everything we were doing was pretty much in Victor's head and on our minds, and we had a lot of big plans. And it seems like it's been very slow in coming and step by step, but we're finally starting to get there. And today we have 23 plaques on Halsted Street, and in 4 weeks we will add another 7 plaques, so we'll have 30 plaques up on Halsted Street. And we have much bigger plans than we're gonna get there. It's gonna take us quite a while to do that, and sometimes it's hard to be that patient. But this summer we reached what I consider to be a huge milestone, and that without any support from any fund, from grants, or from any government entity, we have raised now over $500,000. So, thanks in a great part to all of you. And we decided to call this the Leadership Circle because, to make this a success, we need people that are going to be leaders and help us get to our ultimate goals and keep growing. And that's what all of you are going to help us do. And your contributions, all of your support and your attendance here today is all part of that. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart and from all the board members of the Legacy Project. So thanks so much. And now to actually talk about the future of the Legacy Project, I'm very proud to introduce a dear friend of mine, former roommate, and the founder and the executive director of Legacy Project, Victor Salvo. Woo!
Make sure that tape is down. Well, I mean, kudos to God for today. It's obvious that God is both a Democrat and a woman. And this is terrific. We've been wanting to do an event like this for a really long time, and I thank all of you. Most of you here know a great deal about the project already. Many of you are donors, so I'm not going to belabor the point of what the Legacy Project is. But Ralph's right. When we finish that 30th plaque this year, this will be the largest collection of bronze biographical markers in the world for any constituency, let alone for LGBT people, and that's something I think we should all take a great deal of pride in as Chicagoans, and certainly of this community. But one of the things that we've noticed in this project, in working on it, is that the one place where the content that we create seems to be the least paid attention to is actually on Halsted Street. Because most people are texting or drinking or cruising or doing whatever it is that they do when they're on Halsted Street, and they're not entirely understanding why the legacy plaques are there and what the purpose of it is. So we've been talking a lot about it in terms of marketing, and we've had a couple of experiences. Gabriel and I worked on a remote installation that we had done down in Springfield last year, right before the marriage equality bill was voted on and passed. And the response to bringing it to some place that wasn't Halsted Street was unbelievable. 1,000 people stood there and read every word of what we had. And we was like, you know, there's power in what we're doing, and what we need to do is actually bring it to the people. And we had the opportunity to install our first satellite installation inside Equality House in Topeka, Kansas, which is the Rainbow House that's created across the street from the Westboro Baptist Church. They've turned the inside of the house into sort of a beacon of LGBT history, and over 1,000 people have traveled there since we had put in that installation to actually read the content of those plaques. And so it is a really big deal what we're doing, even if no one else on the street is aware of it. So we have pulled our noggins together, and we're planning on launching a national tour of what we call the Legacy Wall. And of course, parallels to the Vietnam Wall, I suppose, are inevitable. But what it really will be is I put it inside your programs, which I put together last night at 4 o'clock. So here's just a modest artist's representation of this 20-foot long, 7.5 feet tall wall that will have about 50 to 60 biographies on it. And our goal over the 18 months beginning in January of 2015 is to bring this to about 12 universities across the country, beginning in the state of Illinois, and working with our partners at GLSEN and the GSA Network in San Francisco and a couple of other organizations, including Campus Pride. We're going to be trying to bring GSA groups from throughout the country who live in proximity to these schools on field trips to actually see this content, where this wall will be parked for about 6 weeks at a time. That's a really big deal to do that, because it gives us the ability to take this to where it's needed most, to the people who need to see it most. And one other thing I want to draw your attention to is this little card here, NFC tester. How many of you have ever heard of NFC? All right, near field communication. It is the wave of the future. Who saw Apple's debut thing for iPhone 6, 7, 8, whatever it's called? NFC technology, near field communication, is the ability to track data in real time using people's phones and magnetic resonance frequency transponders. The Legacy Project is very proud of the fact that we will be the first application of NFC technology both outdoors and for education in the United States. That's a big deal. It is a really big deal, and we worked very hard to create this relationship. You all have this card in here right now in your little packets. This has within it the chip already. There's also a barcode for those of you whose phones do not access NFC, where you can scan the barcode. But the whole point is it creates a digital interface for you to actually, while in real time, while standing in front of the pylon that you're looking at, to actually be able to bring up video content on that person, learn more about them while you're standing there, and it finally links the Legacy Project to the Legacy Walk. And what's really cool about it is that the national touring wall will also be linked to the same system. So we will finally be able to gather information on thousands and thousands of people and what they're responding to and what they're getting out of this. Nobody is doing this, and we need this data in order to be able to make the case for ultimately looking at how we can affect policy around the inclusion of LGBT history in our schools. So this is just a little bit of what we're about. Of course, we're always going to be about plaques, but we're trying to figure out a way to make this content interesting and exciting and accessible. And part of that is going to obviously involve money, which is why we're so thrilled that we've had a wonderful event and a wonderful turnout here already. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our moderator, who will introduce our panel.